Yeah. It's pretty in here. We still got Christmas trees up. The library. Mm-hmm. This is beautiful. That is gorgeous. Old timey telephones. That's neat.
Teachers group meeting in there this week, so if you do pop in tonight, there it'll still be set up for the teachers group that's in there.
Okay.
But I will start off in 1847. The Crutchfield House was the first hotel that opened up on this spot.
Right.
And they ran pretty successfully as a hotel until the Civil War, when the Union Army came in, commandeered the building, and put it to use as a field hospital. 367, a lit oil lamp gets knocked over, and up goes the Crutchfield House. So by 1871, Dr. John Reed bought the property, and by 1872, he had a 4-story hotel put up. And then he and his wife ran it for about 5 years or so until they decided to retire, hand over to their son Samuel, who was about 19 or 20 at the time. About a year later, a massive flood comes rolling through. The city comes back in, uses the Reed House as an impromptu hospital again, and the morgue was in our basement.
Civil War.
So between that and the Civil War hospital, there are plenty of people who, as you've heard, say 311 may not be the only one.
Right. If these walls could talk.
That's it.
Well, also through the Depression.
I'm sorry?
Also through the Depression.
Well, yes, sir. I mean, during 1925, Samuel decided to hold a small part of the hotel open, took the rest of the building down, and put this building up.
Right.
So this one's been here officially opened in 1926, and I mean, we've been able to stay open the entire time. Our main building was added in the 60s, and they connected the two buildings up in 2018. So we're the longest continuously running hotel in the Southeast. We're 150 years this year of nonstop service.
That's awesome.
So
man.
as you say, if these walls could talk.
That's right.
And I mean, it's just, there's been stories of people seeing somebody in Civil War uniform go to the end of the hall and disappear.
That's what I heard.
Some people said they'll see them turn the corner, but they never hear any door open or close. They never hear any talking. They're just gone.
I heard perfume smell in the ballroom. I've heard a shadow figure. You could tell that it may have been a woman because of the way the dress
in the ballroom.
In the ballroom.
What I had heard was there was one of the two middle mirrors in the ballroom. They had seen an image of a person. There was a little girl and a person with her hand on the little girl's shoulder. Well, they had also seen the image, and I actually had a lady who used to give the ghost tours, or actually gives the ghost tours at Chattanooga. She showed me a picture she had of our portrait of Samuel Reed downstairs. In the bottom left corner, there's a picture of a girl, looks about 5-6 years old, from about here up in a pink dress.
Really?
Well, they had seen that image of the pink dress in the mirror. It was kind of blurred, but they had seen it there, and they assumed it was Samuel Reed with his hand on her shoulder.
Right.
Well, they unearthed a photo of Mrs. Reed and realized that even though it was blurred, it matched. The description of the one matched Mrs. Reed rather than Mr. Reed. And that, like I say, in that middle mirror there in the ballroom.
That's not a coincidence, man. That's just right on.
Well, welcome to room 311.
311, guys.
I was told they were able to find the original door and get it put back up, and it is the only one left in the entire hotel still using mechanical lock and key.
This is the original door.
That's what I was told. And all the other rooms, both sides of the hotel, have the same locking mechanisms you guys have, doorbells, that kind of thing.
Card.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, he's fixing to tell us who was murdered in here, how, the whole detail. That's the whole point of being here. Tonight, like I said, we'll wander the halls and check out the ballroom, and it's gonna be a good night. So let's thank this gentleman. Thank you very much.
Very well.
Let's
Yeah,
see
like I said, it's the
what
only
we-
one in the entire hotel using mechanical lock and key.
Uh-huh.
And the other thing you'll notice too, in stepping into the room, is that everything in here is decorated to the 1920s. At our last renovation, management felt it necessary to keep our
Keep it.
permanent guests comfortable. And anybody else's comfort's entirely beside the point.
Right,
So step back nearly 100 years.
yes. Oh, man. My
Now, I will
mom
say-
would have a fit for that
Oh, yeah.
cat. She loves antiques.
Now, I will say, none of this is the original furniture to the room.
Okay.
At that last renovation, they couldn't get the door open. The room had sealed itself off. The door they had up at that time, they had to get a chainsaw to get through.
Well,
So I'm figuring you're probably getting some mold, mildew, stuff like that. So they did have to replace everything. But everything in here is from the 1920s. This is all antique furniture, like I said, in order to keep her comfortable.
right.
We've also got our 1920s air conditioning up here. This is what the guests would have had until 1953 when the Reed House finally offered its guests central air conditioning in the rooms.
Two blades, guys.
And the thing's more efficient than my 5 blades at home.
I'm telling you.
And we are, of course, non-smoking these days, so it's purely decorative. But,
Yeah.
I mean, they got as many details as they legally could.
Uh-huh.
And then another feature in stepping into the bedroom that a lot of people notice fairly quickly, that's the bars on the window there.
Right.
Back in the 1920s, there was a train station right across the street. People on the lower levels of the hotel started developing this nasty habit of hopping out the window, catching the train, and taking
Uh-huh.
off before they got their bills paid.
Right.
So the hotel came in and put bars on all the windows on the lower levels.
Mm.
Didn't have anything to do with keeping people out. It's to keep the guests in.
Yes.
Fire code came along not long afterwards, said you can't do that, and they had to take them down. Somehow, though, at least for a little while, these got left up. So, 1931, big famous gangster of the time, Al Capone's being taken from Chicago to Atlanta to stand trial for tax evasion, because you know that's all they can make stick.
Right.
And the only way to transport a criminal at that time was in the back of an armored car with a couple guards on a road trip. So they got to Chattanooga, pulled up to the Reed House. Usually in that kind of situation, you find a room somewhere in the basement, chuck the criminal in there.
No.
But Al Capone, as y'all well know, was not your average criminal.
No.
He didn't want to go in the basement, he wanted a room.
Right.
They said, well, 311 still got the bars on the window, put him in there. So Al Capone stayed in here as well.
Al Capone actually stayed in this room.
What I was told.
You know, he even had luxury at Alcatraz.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
radio,
Oh yeah.
everything you wanted.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Meanwhile, a lot of us do like to think that management at the time might have enjoyed the irony of putting a murderer in a room where a murder had been committed.
You would think so.
So
probably.
that takes us back around to about 1928.
Okay.
A young, fairly newly married couple, Mr. and Ms. Neitherly, are on their way into town, planning on staying for about a week and a half, something like that. As Mr. Neitherly is looking to see what kind of business he can pick up. Well, they get to the Reed House, book into 311. But the stay starts to get extended. A little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. He's not having the best of luck business-wise, Mr. Neitherly. Some business deals fall through. Some people double-cross him.
Right.
And eventually he hits this rut where pretty much anything that can go wrong business-wise does. So after a while, his board of directors up in Chicago, they call him up. It's like, we need you to come up here. Write this out for us. Explain to us what's going wrong. Why isn't this working?
Right.
You might even have to travel back and forth some. Well, of course, it's a major undertaking at the time. He didn't want his young wife, Annalisa, to have to deal with all that. So he told her, said, all right, honey, here's a little bit of cash. I'll settle up the bill downstairs. Stay here. Take care of yourself. Well, this is pretty much what the room would have looked like at the time.
Right.
I mean, that's nice, but even TV's only in its experimental stage.
Yes.
At most, she might have had a radio to listen to. Maybe she was
Possibly.
bringing her a newspaper to the door once a day, something
Right.
like that. It's the middle of Prohibition. Bars on the windows. She starts getting bored after a while. Heads back, eventually decides to head back downstairs, finds her way back to our billiards room. Of course, at that time is where a lot of young men hang out in billiards rooms, and she's a rather lovely looking girl herself. Well, she ends up meeting somebody. Chemistry starts up, sparks start to fly, she brings him up here. But a lot of these guys are also businessmen. They're not planning on staying in town for very long. So she goes back down, and back up, and back down, and back up, and back down, and this becomes a bit of a habit for her. Some people say she charged for her services. Some say she didn't. I don't know. I started at least a year after that.
Right.
But as these businessmen are traveling town to town, city to city, bumping into other businessmen, finding out, oh, hey, you're heading to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
You need to go to the Reed House. Beautiful young girl down there named Annalisa. She'll make sure you have a nice time. Got a fat pocketbook. You're definitely going to have fun with Annalisa. Well, this story keeps going, town to town, city to city, and it makes its way up to Chicago. And Mr. Neitherly finds out. And naturally, he's none too happy.
Right.
First chance he gets, he makes a beeline straight down here, marches through the front door straight up to the room, and beats a door open. And Annalisa's not alone. He grabs a guy up, takes him out to the hallway, beats the tar out of him, leaves him laying there dead or alive, who knows, who cares.
Right.
Comes back in here, snatches up Annalisa, drags her into the bathroom, throws her down into the bathtub, and takes out the quickest, easiest weapon for the man at the time, his straight razor. Gives her a really close shave. When housekeeping found it, they had a mess to clean up.
I'm sure.
But the thing is, at the time, Chattanooga wasn't nearly this big. And being a small southern town, government's a lot less nosy into your personal business. And Mr. Neitherly's real good at greasing palms. So the authorities effectively say, you know what? Your wife was probably working on the side, and clearly y'all were having some problems. If that's how you felt like you needed to take care of it, you did what you needed to do.
Right.
And he gets away with it. You're not going to find any police reports or anything like that. The hotel didn't want a scandal either. So they came in, cleaned everything up, kept their mouths shut, and left the room in circulation. Well, it didn't take them terribly long before they started noticing that people getting booked into the room. 3, 4, 5 hours later, they're back downstairs at the front desk going, you got to give me another room. If you can't give me another room, give me more money back. If you can't do that, we got to do something. I need out of there. I'm getting this jittery, shaky feeling, feel this pressure.
Right.
Somebody's watching me. Several people said they were sitting on the bed. Felt like somebody sat down next to them. So a few young men managed to kind of make it through the night, but then they said they came in the morning and they're getting ready. When all of a sudden this ghostly image of a beautiful young lady in a bloody dress appeared behind them. When they turned around, she was gone. So after enough of that, the hotel had to take the room out of circulation. They're just having way too many issues with it.
And then that's why they do.
But then
during
and that's why we
October.
do the tours. Eventually, over time, enough people started coming in asking questions because rumors are spreading and curiosity peaks. And so eventually people are coming in going, hey, we want to stay in the room and see if something happens with us.
Yeah, we're
So
definitely
the
going to
hotel
do
did
that.
eventually decide to occasionally open the room up and in their sense of humor set the price at $666.66. Halloween night itself, though, they flipped that number upside down, $999.99. They do typically, it's whatever night of the week Halloween falls on is when they open it up.
Right.
And this past year, though, it was on a Sunday. They decided to do Saturdays and Halloween. The year before that, we were still kind of coming off COVID. It was on a Saturday night. They did Saturday and Sunday. The year before that was on a Thursday. They did Thursdays. There's no waiting list. We've had the occasional, oh, I bet you got a long waiting list. They open it up usually only about 3 or 4 weeks before they're ready to have people stay in it. They'll open it up, and as soon as it's full, they close it back down.
Right.
So you just got to watch the social media, and once it's open, you better start calling. Because September 13th.
Well, we're booked, so we're good.
Oh, you're already booked
Yes,
in. You're,
yes,
okay, all right. That's impressive because usually, like I said, they didn't. I mean, this past year they didn't even open it until September 13th, which was a Monday. 2 nights got booked, but then by Wednesday the email blast went out and every night available was booked.
Right.
So if you've already gotten in, I'm impressed. I'd love to know who or what strings you pulled to get in because usually they don't open it that early.
I forget the guy's name. I hadn't paid yet.
Okay.
I hadn't paid yet. He just said that if I would go ahead and put a payment down, that I could do it that way.
Did you speak with our manager? Was that Jim Bambury? Or no?
I forget the gentleman's name. I wrote it down on my pad at home.
Okay.
And then he was the one that told me to find you,
Okay.
to talk to you about
Okay.
this right here.
I got you.
You'd show it to me and everything, what I'd be getting myself into,
Sure.
when I get here.
Well, I mean, from that perspective, we have still had stuff happen in the room, even as limited as we share it. And although I will say this past October was a little bit of an odd one.
Right.
Because usually if somebody experiences anything, they're telling us. If they don't experience anything, they're telling us.
Mm.
The first 2 weeks of October, though, both couples got downstairs about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, handed the key over and went, we're out.
Mm.
The last 3 weeks, they said they didn't experience anything. But 2020, we had several occurrences. The biggest one was Halloween night itself, though. We had a couple come in. I was here that night. I worked a 3 p.m. to 11 shift. But with somebody staying in the room, obviously we can't show it like this.
All right.
So I'm busy downstairs doing other stuff. Nobody's coming to me, pointing them out or anything like that. And I wasn't here that Monday, and it was, that Sunday, and it was noon on Monday before I came back in. But when I came in that Monday, I very quickly started being told, evidently it was like within 15, 20 minutes after I left that Saturday night, the couple comes back up to the room. And I mean, they're already paying, like I said, $999.99. You're talking
Right.
over $1,000 with tax. And they come back into the room, and she steps out for a few minutes. Comes back, the room is completely dark, and he's on the floor shaking,
No.
freaking out, acting like he's either getting attacked or possessed.
Right.
She was a nurse, and she's like, he's never done this before. We've never seen this kind of thing, and his voice was changing and everything. She goes running downstairs for help. Our manager at Bridgman's Shop House at the time, Lisa, she was one of the first ones to come in and try to help, and she told me, she said, I've been in this business a long time. I know what it looks like when somebody's had a few too many at the bar. This wasn't it. Said his wife was knelt down next to him, had a glass of water, splashing it on him, trying to wake him up. He's laying there going, I can feel her tears. I can feel her tears. And before their night was done, they were downstairs insisting on another room. So I will warn, the hotel does not vouch for Annalise's behavior.
Right.
If you want to spend over $1,000 with tax, or even the $666 plus tax, and you don't make it through the night, that's on you.
I feel like I got touched on my neck.
I've heard that kind of thing going on. I had a gentleman in here, I was giving tours back in, I don't know, February, March of last year, somewhere in there. And there was a couple I was standing and talking to, and I was standing right about here. She was completely on that side of the door facing, but he was standing right here with his right shoulder exposed to the bathroom.
Right.
So I'm standing here, I can see they got a gap, and we're chatting along, and all of a sudden he looks at her and goes, quit that. She looks at him, and I'm kind of kept talking, and I just stopped and looked. He said he felt like somebody had reached up and grabbed his shoulder.
Is my neck red?
I had a
Can
lady
you see
back in-
anything?
You got a little bit right about in there. I had a lady back in June. I was giving a tour of about 4 or 5 people, and as we started to head out, she looked at me, she said, you know, right about the time I got a picture of the bathtub, I felt something kind of itchy on the back of my neck. I told her though, because at the time I was like, oh, a lot of people report hair on the back of the neck, pressure, things like that. So I really didn't think anything about it at
Right.
the time. But about a half hour later, she came back down to the front. Her husband had seen the back of her neck, grabbed her phone, snapped a picture. She showed it to me. She had scratch marks on the back of her neck.
Mm.
Yours is a bit red. The middle of it, like very lightly, I mean, it's not like full-blown scratch, but very
Right.
lightly something.
Can you point that to my neck and let's? So can
I mean, sometimes the phones don't always pick it up, but I mean, yeah, it's right there in the middle.
It just feels like it's
Yep,
burning.
you're putting your hand right on it.
Mm.
So,
It definitely felt like a long fingernail.
like I said, that
Like
lady,
a
she had-
burn.
I could see 3 distinct lines on the back of her neck, but it's been since June since I've seen that, and I'd never seen it before then.
Well, that's like time you got your back cracked.
Yeah, I went to the cemetery here a while back and dealt with an old reverend that wasn't no good in the community. And he was back in 1886.
Okay.
And we had a full-blown conversation.
Oh, wow.
I got home the next day, I had over 130 scratches. I had bite marks.
Wow.
It was a mess.
That was me.
This is this is only the second time. I mean, I've given way more tours than it's ever possible to count. And this is only the second time I've seen that. Like I said, and it's been since June since I've seen it before.
But you gave me something that I hadn't got in a while, so I'm gonna help you out, bud.
But, even then, like, the way you see the room is how we leave it. We leave lights on and things like that, because giving tours, you don't be coming in and flipping switches. But I've come in and found furniture moved. In fact, it was only the Saturday, like I was telling you, the lady with the 3 scratches, that was on a Wednesday. The Saturday before that, I come walking in here, I had been given tour after tour after tour. I mean, multiple tours, had the key on me the whole time. And I come walking into one tour, and this all of a sudden this chair is turned up against that table, and the bench for the vanities in the middle of the bathroom floor. So as I tell everybody, you know, we still get stuff happen.
Well, you
And if it doesn't
definitely
bother
got me
you, I
to.
mean, oh well, thank you. I mean, the lady who had her neck scratched, she's been a story ever since. You might be the next story coming in. So I'm giving all of a sudden he's got a scratch.
Well, they
Well, you-
what they done was just they said that I could put my card in. They could go ahead and set my
Okay.
card.
Okay.
So I gave them my card information and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's
Interesting.
why I said it'd be already booked.
Mhm.
That way, when I get here, it just
Sure,
you know,
sure.
they can
Yeah,
run
well, I
it
know
and
we
be
never
done with
take
it.
payment until after your stay
Right.
anyway, but just the fact that you've already got booked is impressive.
Right, yes.
I should imagine the paranormal things probably what helped you go
Did-
ahead and slide in there before any
It
typical guest.
was. Do you ever get on YouTube?
Like get on and watch stuff on YouTube?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I've got a YouTube
Won't you
account.
subscribe to my channel? Check it out.
Oh, what's the name? Is it the JDS Paranormal?
JDS
Okay.
Paranormal.
If you look up the Dam Guide, DAM, the Dam Guide,
Mhm.
I'm already on there giving a tour.
Cool.
So
All
yeah,
right.
he's got me up there too.
Well,
So,
now you'll be
yeah,
able to
look up
see you on
JDS
this one.
Paranormal. There we go, there we
JDS
go.
Paranormal.
All right.
Well, man, I sure do thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'll be honest, I was going to give some more examples of stuff that have happened, but you basically just trumped everything with that on your neck right there.
Well, in this kind of business, you never know what you're
Oh,
gonna deal with.
oh
I mean, you might get smacked, you might get pinched. You never know. I've had it all.
yeah. Even the lady that I said came up to help out when they, that Halloween 2020. Good grief, now he doesn't want to do it. Come on.
Don't want to work.
She told me, it was back in like February or March, that she brought her family in and asked me to give them a tour. And she told me that was her second and last time she'd ever be in that room. She didn't want to go in to begin with, but she was going in with her family. She said after what she saw Halloween of 2020, she wasn't going back.
Stuff like that doesn't bother me. I've done had it all.
We've had some guests make it through the night despite experiences. We've had people leave the hotel. We've had people get another room.
I have vomited pure black crud
Ooh,
with
that's nasty.
handprints on my back. No,
Wow.
no blood, no smell of blood, just black gunk.
Wow.
I've had a lot of different experiences. It's wild, but I enjoy it. Go ahead and 122.
The mezzanine level itself, like I said, should become more available. I think the teachers are done around 3:30, 4 o'clock today. So after that, the mezzanine should be a little more available for looking around. Granted, like I say, the ballroom will still be set up for them, but like you can still potentially go in and look around.
Okay. All right. Which way is the ballroom? Hey guys, I'll be back with you after this. That was a tour of the room. I want to see the ballroom and everything and figure out where I'm going to be going tonight. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching JD's Paranormal.
So the Silver Ballroom is literally this room right here.